Well, hello, everybody, Electus Society community. Thank you so much for those who are participating in this live training. I call it Tea with Tim because it will be a little bit more of not me just talking so much, but me showing you some videos and then allowing all of you to actually share a lot more and participate in a healthy discussion. So, and again, welcome to all the people who are going to be watching this recording because of schedule conflicts, they couldn't be here. So again, everybody, I'm Tim Duffy, president founder of Electus Society. And so this is probably the second training that we've done. The first one was high performance communication. This is where we're going to just tackle these topics of purpose, passion, and belief. So before we jump in, I just want to also give a disclaimer. So Electus Society does not endorse the views or activities of the speakers featured in these videos. It's for educational purposes, only to facilitate discussion. And one of the things that I always wanted to remind people of is the Electus Society values. Remember, respect, acknowledging other individuals' rights, free will, differences of opinion. You don't always have to agree with these people, but you shouldn't actually silence them. I'll just tell you one quick anecdote. I'm going to show you some videos. Again, they may be from different political points of view that you might have, some different speakers. And so I went to do a program for a women's rights organization. I'm not going to say the name, but what I did is they wanted to talk about purpose and passion. And I thought, you know what, it's very important. I'm a big advocate of education. And I thought that you should all hear from different angles and different perspectives because that's what education was all about. And so the moment that I showed one video, it was all good. They liked it. And then I showed the other video, which was from a conservative media outlet. And what ended up happening, I warned them and I said, hey, you might not agree with these views. Let me show you this video. I showed the video. And then as soon as the video was over, I was ready to facilitate discussion. And then one student basically said, I have to speak up. I have to say something. That video and that organization espouses hate. You should not listen to that organization. You should not listen to any videos from that organization. And I basically said, hey, do you remember what I had shared with you before? For educational purposes, I'm going to share with you all these different videos. And even though I said that and I claimed it, guess what? The whole mood of the entire organization changed. I was now the enemy for daring to show them this video. And then guess what? They never invited me back. You know what? I got canceled. So this is what's happening right now in our culture. And I hope that all of you are those leaders that can actually hear other perspectives and points of view without, getting so angry and upset that we could actually have discussions. So thank you for that. And if it's too overwhelming to handle or you're too brittle, you could always sign off. This is free membership. I just hope that you guys gain some value from this kind of discussion. So let's jump right in. The first topic is going to be talking about purpose and passion. Now, I'm going to assume that some of you, as student leaders from various colleges, throughout the region, have heard about this, talked about this. You've heard different videos, follow your passion, discover your purpose. And that's very good. And that's good and fine. I actually got a lot of that when I was in college, and it actually really helped me to discover what I wanted to do. So when I went to Queens College City, University of New York, I really cared about the environment. I studied environmental science. I thought I was going to be maybe a sustainability lawyer or something like that in that field. But I did all this leadership development. And one of the things that I did was this like passion test. And I took this test. And one of the things it said, and we're going to do it later on when you complete the post assessment after this video, is what do you love to do and who are the people you love to serve? And it was so interesting. I was so honest with that I said, you know what? I love working with college students and I love teaching and I love empowering people. And who knew that after I graduated, I did a couple of different jobs. That's exactly what I was going to do. So many times, a lot of college students think that, they go to college because they want to get a good job. They settle on a major, and then that's what they're going to do for the rest of their life. There are a lot of jobs out there, and there are a lot of different things that you can do. Higher education is very valuable because it gives you new perspective, teaches you how to think. And so I don't regret studying, well, my degree. I actually think that it really helped shape me, and I'm very appreciative of it. But it's very important that you understand that this whole concept of discovering your purpose and passion. And some people have a very difficult time figuring it out, and for those people who have a whole lifetime, they're like, I can't figure out what my purpose or passion is. Well, then one of the things is you can spend the rest of your life, trying to discover it. So that would be, a purpose and passion that you could do. So Jack Canfield is a video I'm going to show with you. He's a very powerful motivational speaker. He is co-author of several books, Chicken Soup for the Soul. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of those books, but he's a several New York Times bestselling author. So if you want to talk about success, this guy has lived it. And he wrote a very, very influential book called The Success Principles. I highly recommend that everybody reads that. And it's started me on my journey to, pursue be successful at whatever endeavors I chose, and as well as on my leadership journey. So let's watch this video right now, and then we'll have a discussion. Okay.
Hi there, I'm Jack Canfield, and today I want to talk to you about one of the most important and challenging things. I'm going to talk to you about how to find your true purpose in life. I began to find my purpose in life when I was in college. I was actually a Chinese history major, and I was thinking I was going to be a diplomat or go to law school, one of the two. And my senior year, I took an elective class that was supposed to be an easy A called Social Relations 10. And what happened was it was really a group where we sat around and talked about our feelings and got to know each other at a really deep level, much more deeply than anyone I'd ever talked to in college. And I realized, wow, this is what I want to do. I love human behavior, psychology, how people interact, how they set goals, and what they're about in life. And unfortunately, I had no undergraduate classes in psychology, so I couldn't get into psychology in graduate school. But someone said, you taught history in the summer and you were a history major. Why don't you go into teaching history? And then through graduate school, you can sneak into ed psych and eventually psychology, which is what I did. And I found that I love to teach and I love to empower people. And what happened was I was teaching in an all-Black inner city school in Chicago, and most of my kids were not motivated. And I became more interested in how to motivate them than I was in teaching history. And so I became an expert in motivation and success. Unfortunately, I met a man named W. Clement Stone who had a foundation who was teaching this in Chicago. I started taking weekend workshops with them. I started using them in my classrooms. And eventually they asked me to teach other teachers. And then one day I was teaching and they said, can you do for my company what you just did for these teachers? And I said, I never worked in a company. They said, they're just big kids in suits. So go over and work with them. And I did. And so I discovered that my purpose was inspiring and empowering people to live their highest vision in the context of love and joy. And it's important because my whole life now has been developed around that purpose. And once I was clear with that, I could align every single behavior, every single goal with my purpose. So literally, one of the most important challenges we face in our life is figuring out exactly what that purpose is and what we want to do with it. For some people, the answer to this question of who am I and what's my purpose and what do I want to do seems to come easily. There are those who grow up knowing they want to be a doctor or a musician or an engineer or a lawyer or an astronaut, and they just go up and they do it. Now, there are those of us, however, who struggle to find our true purpose. And it's for those people I hope to offer some useful guidance today. Now, before we can address how you can go about finding what it is you want to commit your life to, it's important to better understand why doing so can be so difficult. There are several factors that can make finding your purpose in life hard. Pressure from outside influence is often responsible for leading you down life paths that you don't enjoy. Another factor holding many people back from finding their true purpose is the fact that people often prioritize things such as money and prestige above doing what they love, even though those things will more likely come if a person pursues their true purpose and passion. Now, oftentimes, People may also feel that it's too late for them to find their true purpose. They believe they're too old or too established in their current life. This, however, is rarely ever true. It's never too late to start doing what makes you happy, and the belief that it's too late is nothing more than another factor holding you back. Once you've identified the factors that may be keeping you from finding your purpose in life, though, you can go about silencing them and listening to your real calling. Thankfully, we're all born with an inner compass that tells us whether or not we're on the right path to finding our true purpose. Now, that compass is our experience of happiness or joy. If you enjoy what you're doing and it fulfills you, you're on the right track. If not, it's time to readjust your course. Now, by listening to this inner compass and learning to ignore any outside influences or factors that point you in the opposite direction, you'll find that discovering your true purpose isn't so hard after all. Now, having identified things that could be holding you back from finding your purpose, let's start discovering what it is you were truly meant to do with your life. To do this, start by following these simple yet extraordinarily helpful steps. First, you have to envision your ideal life. If money was no object, what would you want to do with your life? If you could live anywhere, there were no expectations, and anything you could think of was not a problem, what is it that you would want to do with your life? I want you to really think hard about these questions because the answer to them is really important. If you're able to envision what your ideal life looks like and what it is that you find yourself doing in that ideal life, you'll have a much better understanding of your true purpose. Second, do what makes you happy. Now, even if you envision your ideal life, chances are it's not going to be something you'll be able to achieve immediately overnight. Now, that's not to say it is impossible, but for most people, it's going to take a little more effort than that. The point, though, is envisioning your ideal life to understand what it is that makes you happy. And once you've identified what makes you happy, start doing more of it now. It's really just that simple. Now, you may want to start small with a side job or a hobby, or you may want to commit to this new direction entirely. But either way, you should be working towards a life where you are always doing the things you enjoy and finding success in doing these things. Proceed in this way, and I promise you will eventually end up at the ideal life you first envisioned. Now, third, do what you're good at. In most cases, the things that you're good at and the things you enjoy will be one and the same. Still, it's important to ask yourself, what is it that comes easily to you, effortlessly to you? What things are you better at doing than anybody else? And by pursuing both the things you're good at and the things you enjoy, you maximize your chances of being successful. More importantly, though, you maximize your chances of living a highly rewarding and enjoyable life. There's no better time to start making the most of your life than now. And whether you're 16 or 60, it's never too late to find and pursue your true purpose. If it feels like your past has been wasted doing things that weren't your true purpose, don't worry. All that means is that it's time to make the rest of your life the best of your life now. And best of all, the wisdom and experience you gain from your past are invaluable resources that you can use to build a better future. And in the end, there's no such thing as wasted efforts, only wasted opportunities. Now, finding the best thing for you to do with your life truly is as simple as finding what you love, finding what you're good at, and pursuing it with a passion. From there, everything else will fall into place, and you'll soon find yourself living a life that is fulfilling, rewarding, and full of joy. Now, I want to leave you with a bit of homework. Think about your true purpose. Assume that the world is perfect right now. What does the world look like? How is everyone interacting with everyone else? What does it feel like? Write down your answer as a statement in the present tense, the way you would see a perfect world. And remember that a perfect world is a fun place to be in. And once you determine this, go back and read it every day. And your purpose probably has something to do with helping create that world in some way. Maybe in a small way with your friends, your family, in your neighborhood, or your community, or your work group, or maybe on an even grander scale. So close your eyes and visualize that perfect world for a few minutes every day, and then watch for opportunities to help create more of that world wherever you are. So thanks for watching today. And remember, nothing will change for the better until you do. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure you like it, share it with a friend who may need it, and subscribe to my channel for more.
All right. So that's the video. That's Jack Canfield, very motivational. So who here would like to share what they got out of watching that video and maybe see if it applies to you? So feel free to either raise your hand. I know that there's a small intimate group from us, so you're more than welcome to just kind of unmute your microphone. I would love to hear from at least a couple people. So who has the courage to share what they got out of that video?
I could go.
Go ahead.
Hey,
Hiya, how you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Shania, why don't you tell everybody what school you're from and what region?
Okay. Hey, everyone. I'm Shania Roseborough from John Jay College of Criminal Justice and from New York.
From New York. All right. Okay,
City.
Shania, go ahead. Take it away.
I really appreciated that first video because I'm kind of in a state now where I'm trying to figure out my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
When I was younger, I always wanted to be a lawyer. And over the years, I still had that thought behind my head. But now, like with everything that's going on with COVID and the certain internships I have and like being involved in school, I've noticed that I'm not as confident as becoming a lawyer anymore. But I realized that one thing I have realized over the course of this semester is that I feel like one of my purposes is I like to help people like any way I can. I like to motivate, I like to encourage. And so like even with people who I don't know and they like feel comfortable to express themselves to me, like what they're going through, even my friends, if they tell me they're having a hard time, I when I think back, I always realize like I'm always that one person like, oh wait, can I help any kind of way? Like what can I do? How can I help you be the better version of yourself? So from that video, when he was saying that he found his purpose in encouraging people and motivating people to like be the best versions of themselves, I'm like, that's literally like what I want to do. Like I don't know how, like what that looks like and like where, but like I definitely want to just help people and like care, because I realize like nowadays it's just, I don't know, I just feel like not a lot of people care or just want to like just be helpful or anything. And so I just want to bring that more out to the world, and hopefully that will be my purpose some way, somehow. But definitely what I got from this video is like, it's never too late. I definitely agree with that, because I always thought like, oh, maybe I should be a lawyer. But I'm like, I don't know. But then I kind of felt guilty because there were people who was like, they always talk about law school to me. And it's like, one, I don't want to, make it seem like I'm like disappointing them, but it's like at the end of the day, I have to do something that makes me happy and find my true purpose. And so yeah, I'm glad you showed that video, because it really hit home. I was like, it really hit home. Like I kid you not, it really hit home. So
no, thank you so much for sharing that. And here's what I got from what you're sharing is you are struggling. The idea is like, listen, you're studying in school, you're like, hey, I think that my path is being a lawyer, but you're starting to say, is that really my path? Am I really meant to do that? And I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, one of the most well-known motivational speakers. And he says it's more important to understand the why, and then don't worry about the how. The how will come later. And so and in terms of, you're absolutely right, in actually doing things for other people, we feel alive, right? It brings us joy. Listen, all of you who joined Electus Society saw two things in what we were doing. Yes, it has an opportunity to enhance your resume, but you get to network with some other student leaders from around the area. But it's also about, you wanted to learn about leadership. You wanted to help serve others. It was in the mission itself. So you're a great collection of people that wants to go out and make a difference. The question is, what do you do if you don't really know what is your purpose? You like to help people, but what? Now that's a great question to ask, because here it becomes, it's like, what are you really good at? And that's what one of the things that Jack Canfield talked about, is discovering the things that you're really, that come easy to you. And what's so funny is that later on in the program, we're going to do an exercise where we're going to ask people to interview other people. It's all part of that getting great feedback. Sometimes our family members and friends see us and know what we're capable of, even if we don't know it ourselves. So I found it very interesting when we get to that portion of the program. You may not know what it is, but you can certainly ask your mom, your parents, your siblings. We're like, what are my skills, talents, and abilities? And you'd be surprised what they might share for you. All right. So thanks so much for sharing that, Shania. I love that feedback. Who else would like to share what they got of that video? Maybe you discovered what your purpose is, what resonated to you. So who would like to go next? I would love to hear from somebody. Don't be shy now. How about I might call on somebody? Hey, Ryan, how about you? Are you available to talk or connect and join in the conversation?
Hi, yes, I'm sorry. I was just making some dinner.
No problem. So Ryan, what did you get from that video and this whole topic of finding your purpose and passion?
Yes, I liked how he talked about his experiences working as a teacher in the inner city. I thought that was a really beautiful connection that he was able to connect his career, and so that part really stood out to me a lot.
Awesome. And what school do you attend, and what is your major, just so that we know?
Yes, I'm at Brooklyn College, and my majors, I have a lot of majors. Includes poli-sci, psych, and sociology.
Yeah. And have you discovered what you think your purpose might be?
My purpose is, there's a wide range of purposes, but I think in the short term, definitely, policy related. That's really where my heart is.
Policy.
And
okay.
Yeah, so when I graduate, I want to work for as many groups as I can, so the money adds up and I can work on policy.
No, I love it. Okay, awesome. So why don't we go to our next video? Let me share my screen, and then we're going to go to the next video. Now, this is from Mike Rowe. Some of you may or may not know him. He hosted a show on, I think it was Discovery Channel. I can't remember, but it was called Dirty Jobs. So he really would go around the country and and meet people, garbage workers, people that had to clean out tanks, oil pits, like all the kind of stuff that really nobody really wanted to do. And he started to realize how amazing these people are and their stories, and how much we appreciate them. And so he did this video because he actually has a different perspective. I've heard follow your purpose and passion, and I want all of you to hear the different perspective. And again, maybe you might find some similarities, maybe you find some differences, but I love the cold hard, directness that he really shares. Okay, so let's watch this video and let me see what you guys think.
There are only two things I can tell you today that come with absolutely no agenda. The first is congratulations. The second is good luck. Everything else is what I like to call the dirty truth, which is just another way of saying it's my opinion. And in my opinion, you have all been given some terrible advice. And that advice is this: follow your passion. Every time I watch the Oscars, I cringe when some famous movie star, trophy in hand, starts to deconstruct the secret of their success. It's always the same thing. Don't let anyone tell you that you don't have what it takes, kid. And the ever popular, never give up on your dreams. Look, I understand the importance of persistence and the value of encouragement, but who tells a stranger to never give up on their dreams without even knowing what it is they're dreaming? I mean, how can Lady Gaga possibly know where your passion will lead you? Have these people never seen American Idol? Year after year, thousands of aspiring American Idols show up with great expectations, only to learn that they don't possess the skills they thought they did. What's really amazing, though, is not their lack of talent. The world's full of people who can't sing. It's their genuine shock at being rejected. The incredible realization that their passion and their ability had nothing to do with each other. Look, if we're talking about your hobby, by all means, let your passion lead you. But when it comes to making a living, it's easy to forget the dirty truth. Just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean you won't suck at it. And just because you've earned a degree in your chosen field, it doesn't mean you're going to find your dream job. Dream jobs are usually just that, dreams. But Their imaginary existence just might keep you from exploring careers that offer a legitimate chance to perform meaningful work and develop a genuine passion for the job you already have. Because here's another dirty truth. Your happiness on the job has very little to do with the work itself. On Dirty Jobs, I remember a very successful septic tank cleaner, a multimillionaire who told me the secret to his success. I looked around to see where everyone else was headed, he said, and then I went the opposite way. Then I got good at my work. Then I began to prosper. And then one day I realized I was passionate about other people's crap. I've heard that same basic story from welders, plumbers, carpenters, electricians, HVAC professionals, hundreds of other skilled tradesmen who followed opportunity, not passion, and prospered as a result. Consider the reality of the current job market. Right now, millions of people with degrees and diplomas are out there competing for a relatively narrow set of opportunities that polite society calls good careers. Now, meanwhile, employers are struggling to fill nearly 5.8 million jobs that nobody's trained to do. This is the skills gap. It's real, and its cause is actually very simple. When people follow their passion, they miss out on all kinds of opportunities they didn't even know existed. When I was 16, I wanted to follow in my grandfather's footsteps. He was a skilled tradesman, could build a house without a blueprint. That was my passion, and I followed it for years. I took all the shop classes at school. I did all I could to absorb the knowledge and skill that came so easily to my granddad. Unfortunately, the handy gene is recessive. It skipped right over me, and I struggled mightily to overcome my deficiencies, but I couldn't. I was one of those contestants on American Idol who believed his passion was enough to ensure his success. One day, I brought home a sconce I had made in wood shop. Looked like a paramecium. After a heavy sigh, my granddad gave me the best advice I've ever received. He told me, Mike, you can still be a tradesman, but only if you get yourself a different kind of toolbox. At the time, this felt contrary to everything I believed about the importance of passion and persistence and staying the course. But of course, he was right, because staying the course, that only makes sense if you're headed in a sensible direction. And while passion is way too important to be without, it is way too fickle to follow around. Which brings us to the final dirty truth. Never follow your passion, but always bring it with you. Congratulations again, and good luck. I'm Mike Rowe from Mike Rowe Works for Prager University.
All right. So different perspective, right? So who here wants to share what they got out of that video, whether they agree, disagree, agree portionately with some of the things that he said. How about we check on Poonam? Are you available to connect and share your thoughts and feedback? Poonam, are you there? You can unmute. And if you're not there or you're not available, how about Brenda? Brenda, if you can unmute, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you saw and you got from that video.
Of course. Hi, hello everyone. My name is Brenda and I am a student at SUNY WCC. I think I'm still sort of taking in both videos, so I can't really say if I agree or disagree with them because I like to consider different thoughts. But what I did like about this second video, it did resonate with something that I heard a little while ago, which was don't do something you love for work, because then it becomes work and then you stop loving it. So in that same way, I thought about what he said with something that you're passionate about, not necessarily to always put your complete focus on it per se, but bring it along with you in everything you do. And I thought that was really interesting because I think a lot of the times, even for example, most of us are in college and we're studying something that hopefully we all have an interest in, but at the same time, we are not necessarily learning skills to do different things or to become like well-rounded people. We're only really learning a certain way. And I think that both speakers had good perspective.
Some valid points, right?
Mhm.
Well, no, thanks so much for sharing that perspective. Now, do you know what you're passionate about or what skills you're really good at?
Um, that's a great question. I think I'm still like on the journey to find that thing that I'm passionate about per se. I mean, I'm studying education. I
Okay.
do want to be an educator, but sort of like the first speaker, you can teach people in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily have to be like in a school setting. Um,
Mhm.
but on the flip side, what I really love is music.
Oh,
So something that I would love to do is like have a rock band, for example, but I know that it's like not necessarily a quote unquote reasonable path sometimes.
mm.
Or that's how it's sort of perceived. So I'm trying to find a way to perhaps merge the two, but I don't know how to do that just yet. So that's why I'm here.
Well, absolutely. Well, no, you brought up some great points. And one of the things that I have seen for many college students is that, again, why do college students go to college and universities? I want to, be educated. I want to get a good job. I want to make some good money, so that I can have a profession. It's one of the most common reasons why, they do what they do. But who influences them on what to study and what to pursue? And you use a key word there, something about what is reasonable, right? Reasonable is different to different people. You could have your parents tell you, you know what, um, I hear that, Brenda, that you really love music, but guess what? That's not a reasonable career. You can't make a lot of money as a musician or whatever it may be. Why don't you do something that's safe or something that will pay you money? Because where are your parents and other people coming from when they give you that advice? They're basically saying, I'm afraid for you. Going out in the music industry can be very scary. It can be very difficult. The stats are, the probabilities are low, right? Because out of all the different artists that there are out there, again, only a certain small percentages are downloaded on all the different music apps and on iTunes and Spotify, and the whole rest of them, a lot are not as popular. It's just the way of the nature of the beast. Does that mean that you don't pursue that or not do that? Those are good questions, but in the end, here's where I would like to kind of tie it together, and then we can go on some of the next topics. Jack Canfield talks something about your inner compass, and we're going to go that into our next section of these different topics. Is what if you do something or you see an opportunity? Should you just do it or not? Take advantage. There's opportunities around you all the time. I would invite you to follow that inner compass that Jack Canfield talked about. But also, I also see what Mike Rowe is talking about, which is being sensible. Now, I did something very risky. I had a very good profession, was working full time, getting paid good money, and I wanted to make more, make more money. So what was my reason? So that my wife could end up having kids, so that she wouldn't have to work as much. All this was noble intentions. And I read books about success, passion, business. And so what did I do? I saw an opportunity. I met this individual. We were going to be partners. We were going to start this business together. I would have a percent ownership of the company, and it was a startup. Again, he was very believed in all these different dreams of what was possible, and I believed him. And so we did it. And I was like, should I do this? I followed my inner compass. I can use all my talents and abilities with everything that I've learned to go out, and I did it. So guess what happened? A year passed by. It was a struggle. We weren't making a lot of money with the startups. You know how difficult it can be. Then we were moving into the second year, and all there was promises. And I'm like, my bank account's going lower, 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 lower. What am I doing here? And I had learned so many different lessons. And guess what? I'm grateful for that experience. I ultimately decided to leave because I'm like, I have to be sensible. I have bills to pay. I have things to do. And if I'm doing something that, I was guided following my inner compass to do, you know what? I can also still be reasonable and listen that I need to do something else. And guess what? I ended up doing something else. And if it wasn't for doing that job, guess what happened? Elective Society would have never been made, right? Because I had that startup environment, I had other time to work and create this thing, and we've already helped hundreds and hundreds of students. Like, you know what? So never have regrets is my point of view. And it's okay for not be sure, but also trying something can make a difference. And even though you could fail, right, you can still learn something from it. So, thank for that. Shania, I see your hand raised. What did you like to share? I love your comments.
Yeah, so I wanted to share that I liked what he said at the end. Don't follow your passion, but bring it with you. Because I agree. I understand what he's saying, and I do agree to a certain extent. I believe that because at first I did have a passion of becoming a lawyer.
Yeah.
Well, during while I was watching the video, I made a reflection that, I just said that my passion is to help people.
Yeah.
But then I realized, if I follow that passion, sometimes when I follow that passion and when I feel like when I do a lot in my extracurriculars and I don't really spend as much time on my schoolwork or whatever, I tend to forget about myself, abandon myself. And then sometimes that's when I feel stressed and it's like, well, what is going on? And it's like, I don't have to make time for myself because I'm worried about helping others, making sure I'm there for other people, which is my passion. So it's I understand what he's saying is don't go fully into it, because how I see it too is your passion can sometimes limit you in a way, because it's me, I feel like I wanted to be a lawyer, but then I'm starting to as I'm in programs and getting into this, because I wanted to be in this to really enhance my leadership skills. I always know there's always ways to be a better leader.
Yep.
And so I do this because it's I don't want to limit myself. And so it just brings back a memory of that, following your passion, it can limit you. And so I look at it as I can have more to bring to the table. And so there's different ways, you thought you could bring more to the table and you took that risk to do that. And look, we're here. I'm meeting great networking. So it's I feel like a passion too can limit yourself, but it's like he said, don't follow it, but bring it with you. Don't forget about it, because it could help you in situations. It could help you get opportunities as well. So that part, I was following him in the during the video, but when he said that part, I'm all right, he got me, because it's yes, you can't forget about it. You can't forget about it, but it's don't go right into it. So
well, here's I love that you shared that. And one of the things is, why can't we do side hustles, right? Why can't listen, I created Electus as a side thing in addition to all the other responsibilities, because I was passionate about it. I knew that I wanted to do something, but I said, you know what, I can't devote all my time to it because I still have to pay my bills. I still have to do all these other kind of things. And so I still did it. And you're right, it does take a little bit of sacrifice to be able to say, yes, I have to work full time and I do something on the side, even though I'm really passionate about it. But guess what? Every time I worked on Elective Society or I worked on a presentation, and I'm like, okay, it's the weekend, I could be doing something else. Let me do this. I felt alive. And there's something else that you had shared, Shania, that I think is worth mentioning again in this video, about when you were talking about this is how I interpret it, that Mike Rowe was talking about, is about this idea of happiness. Do what makes you happy, passion, people associate passion with happiness. So one of the things that I really liked about what Mike Rowe was talking about is no, guess what? You can actually shift your way that you perceive work. Work can either be, you could do the same work and you could be happy, or you could do the same work and you could be miserable. And let me give you an example. There's that famous story of there's 3 bricklayers. One bricklayer is like putting down the bricks and they say, how are you doing? He's like, I'm miserable. I do the same job over and over again. I lay bricks, my back hurts and stuff like that. That's how he interprets and views the world, by his laying bricks. Then they go to the second one and they say, how are you doing? He's like, oh my goodness, this is such hard work, but you know what? I don't care. I'm happy to lay bricks. It's kind of boring, but you know what? I'm getting paid a good money and I get to feed my family. So this is how I view what I'm doing. And then the third guy, they asked him, how are you doing? What are you doing? And he's like, I'm happy as it can be. And I'm just here laying bricks. And it's like, why? It's because I'm using my skills, talents, and abilities to build a church to honor God. Like, so do you see how all 3 guys were doing the same exact thing, but the third guy created a purpose and a vision. He saw significance in what he was doing. So if you can change the meaning of what you're doing, then you could do it. So like Shania, you're going to have to figure out what you're going to want to do, right? And that's okay. Start your skills, try different things. You'll start to say, you know what? Dip my toe in that. Didn't really like that, didn't find, joy in what you were doing, but that's okay because you're experimenting. But you could actually find joy in helping people in law or whatever it is. Or let's say if you're not talented at music, but you love music, what about if you could actually, do something in the music industry, get an internship? There's a whole series set of skills that you don't have to be the talented performer. What if you're really good at event planning and you can actually work with the band and you have skills, talents because you love a music that you turned it into something that you really wanted, Brenda, I see your thumbs up. That's awesome. So, all right. So that concludes for the purpose and passion part of it. And we'll, at the end, we'll have a little assessment. And then I want you guys to answer some of these questions on what are your skills, talents, and abilities, or what do other people say that you're really good at? And then who are the people that you like to help, right? So that you can start to hone in on, just like I did, what are the things that you could be doing? Again, I'm not saying change your career, change your major right now, but maybe dip your toe into it, try a little thing, maybe do a little internship around that area. Who knows? Listen, environmental science major over here talking to all of you, right? So you don't know what your major leads and where you end up. So let me go back to sharing my screen. What I'm going to do is the next video is we're going to be talking about belief. Now, belief is very important. And so these are some of my favorite movies. The first one is from The Dark Knight Rises, the Batman movie. So I don't know if you've all have seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's okay. It's just one little scene. It's not going to ruin the whole movie for you. You're more than welcome to see it afterwards. But let me share my screen, and it's just a couple minutes, and it's about believing. Because this is really important for you to accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish.
I'm gonna die in here.
Okay.
Yeah, damn.
Hold on one second.
What's the difference?
Share. Let's go back to the beginning. Here we go.
I'm gonna die in here. Yeah, damn. What's the difference? He says the leap to freedom is not about strength.
My body makes the jump.
Survival is the spirit, the soul. soul is as ready to escape as my body. Fear. That's why you fed it. No, I'm not afraid. I'm angry. You do not fear death. You think this makes you strong. Makes you weak. Why? How can you move faster than possible? Fight longer than possible without the most powerful impulse of the spirit? The fear of death. I fear death. I fear dying in here. While my city burns. There's no one there to save it. Then make the climb. As the child is. Without the rope. Then she will find you again.
That's a nice for your journey. Oh, that's
What does that mean?
rise.
So good. I don't know if you've all have seen that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. So what did you actually get from watching that video? Who would like to share? Maybe we might start up with Shaw. Shaw, if you can unmute yourself, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
I totally agree with that. Seeing the movie, yeah, definitely. It's the fear which is holding back us.
Well,
As we-
absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, continue.
I mean, and we watch other two videos as well, and they also mention the fear that, like, someone who is already comfortable in their life, or somebody saying, "Oh, my time is gone." Those are the things which we can see in our practical life. Or like, I have kids, or my age is too much to go to school, or I mean to learn any new skill or something like that. So I definitely agree with that.
Shaw, I didn't hear the last thing you said. You had kids, but then say it again. I didn't hear what the last thing you said.
No, some of, like, a lot of people, in simple words, it's a comfort zone, and they don't want to get out of that.
A comfort zone. They don't want to get out of that comfort zone. Got it.
So it's the one, the main reason, I guess.
No, absolutely. And one of the things is, think about it, is the moments that you have felt the most alive has been when you did something that was a little bit scary, right? You were stepping outside your comfort zone. And I'm just going to share with you a very quick story and why I shared that video. That video, there's a big debate going on out of all the Batman movies. That first of all, the music was so good, wasn't it? Hans Zimmer does such like epic motivational like music that I used to play that that song, and I would work out to it because it was just so pumping. I don't know if you all felt the same way. But one of the things is, this was when I was working at the National Society of Leadership and Success, and the president and founder said, Tim, your job is to get us big name celebrity speakers that teach students about success and leadership. And I really worked hard. I spent several months doing this task of trying to get the best speakers, and I was basically got compensated. I had a salary, but if I got more celebrity speakers, I would receive more commission. So I was incentivized. The goal was at least get one minimum celebrity speaker. So I work all summer and work on getting the speakers, and then my manager and the boss, the president and the founder, tell me, Tim, this is not enough speakers. We expected a lot better people than what you've provided. And I'm like, what? I got you as celebrities. Like, no, but we need more. We're talking, we need Oprah. We need all these big name people. And I'm like, all right, well, give me some more time. So they gave me an extra, couple weeks. And I'm like, okay, let me try to find some more people. And I try to get some, and I put them some more names of people that can, all the hard work that goes into like coordinating an event. And after I submitted a bunch of more people, guess what? They were still disappointed and said, no, Tim, this is not good enough. And you know what? They're like, if we can't get the speakers, I don't know what to tell you. This might not be a role for you, right? Because this is what we need. And at that moment, can you imagine how crushed that I felt? Like all this leadership, success books, all that I've read, and I'm trying so hard to deliver on something. And I thought I succeeded. And guess what? My managers are disappointed that I didn't do what I was possible. And what I did was, I was really feeling like I was going to get fired because again, I put more pressure on myself than other people do. And then I went to go see this movie in the movie theaters. And the moment that scene happened, that he had to be willing, if he actually believed it was possible, using all of his power energy, he tapped into something much greater and believed that he could do it, and that he did it. And it was very intense and it was very scary. And at that moment, I had the epiphany. I'm like, I could do the same thing. And so that once I finished that movie, I felt like goosebumps all over my body. I'm like, I'm going to go to town. And I started contacting nonprofits, finding different authors and things like that. And as a result of my working as hard as I could over the next like 2 weeks, I got another celebrity speaker, and it was Hill Harper, and he wrote The Wealth Cure, and I presented it, and they were very happy that I got that speaker. And as a little side note, I told my managers, I said, listen, we have to redo the way we evaluate celebrity speakers, because who I think is a celebrity and you think is a celebrity are two different things. Because if you ever watched my training that I gave you guys as a bonus, Professional Success 101, how to get raised or get promoted, what matters is not what the most thing that matters is the expectations that you have, right? And so we had different expectations. So as a result of that negative experience, but I thought it was a very learning experience, I ended up saying, let's do some way to evaluate whether someone's a celebrity. Let's do a survey. And so from that moment on, we would do a survey and conclude whether these people were celebrity speakers or not. And ever since that, we resolved the issue. And so it was one of my top moments in my life, that if you tap into something bigger than yourself, and you could accomplish great things. And I'll tell you one more thing. emotion is a very powerful force. Now, I believe, here's what I'm going to tell you my personal opinions. You guys can agree with me or disagree with me, and those who are watching this recording. I think fear inhibits us, right? Where we don't do things out of fear. It's scary. We won't able to accomplish because of that fear. It's about recognizing that fear and still persevering despite that fear. And so I think that that's something that's very important that all of us need to do is quiet that fear voice. And what in that movie, what you actually saw was him embracing that fear, but his emotion to get out of there was so strong that he was able to blast through it. And just so think about that is all these amazing things that people have done, whether it's, you know what, there's a car that's on fire and there's a kid underneath the car. This has actually literally happened. And there were people that were able to lift up that car and be able to move it. Why? Because the emotion was behind it. They were able to, when somebody was in danger, risk getting burned and everything like that, they tapped into the adrenaline, the power to do something that they didn't even think. If you asked somebody to do that, they wouldn't be able to lift that or do that. So all of us are capable of doing a lot bigger things than we realize, but that fears sometimes inhibit us from getting there. So I'm gonna show you one more video, and then we're going to have a little I'm going to share with you some more slides, and then we can have a discussion. And this is one more video about belief, and this is from the movie, not The Dark Knight Rises, but The Matrix. Who here has actually seen, I know that the Matrix Resurrections came out recently, and I just curious to see if anybody, you could put in the chat if you've ever seen the original Matrix, right? It came out in the 1990s. I think some of you may have been born at that time, or not even born yet, right? You may be born in the 2000s or something like that. But anyway, yeah, put in the chat if you've actually seen it. So I'm going to show you a clip of this movie, and it still has to do the topic with belief. Now, the reason why this video is so important is because sometimes in your life, you're going to be guided to do something and you think for sure this is what's going to happen, and you're told, and you trust your gut, you touch your intuition, and you go down that path. And like I said before, it turns out that it doesn't turn out to be that way. But guess what? That's exactly what you needed to hear at that time. And I'll share with you a personal anecdote after we show this video and I get some of your thoughts. So let me share this right now. Let me share my screen and let's watch this clip. It's just a couple minutes. Slideshow. Here we go, from the original Matrix. Just to set up the scene, there's Neo, he's the hero. There's Morpheus, his mentor, who's being imprisoned. And it's about what are they going to do to help him escape, because Morpheus has some passwords and codes in order to get to the city that these machines are trying to destroy these people. So it's a conflict. And so here it is.
What are they doing to him? Breaking into his mind. It's like hacking a computer. All it takes is time. How much time? Depends on the mind. But eventually it'll crack and his alpha patterns will change from this to this. It does Morpheus to tell them anything they want to know. What do they want? The leader of every ship is given codes to Zion's mainframe computer. If an agent got the codes and got it to Zion's mainframe, they could destroy us. Can't let that happen. Trinity, Zion's more important than me, or you, than Morpheus. Well, there has to be something that we can do. There is. We pull the plug.
You're gonna kill him. Kill Morpheus.
We don't have any other choice.
Never send a human to do a machine's job.
If indeed the insider has failed, they'll sever the connection as soon as possible. Unless
They're dead. In either case, we have no choice but to continue as planned. Deploy the Sentinels immediately.
you're more than a leader to us. this has to be done. Does it? I don't know. This can't be just coincidence. It can't be. What are you talking about? The Oracle. She told me this would happen. She told me that I would have to make a choice.
What choice? What are you doing?
I'm going in.
No, you're not.
I have to.
Neo, Morpheus sacrificed himself so that we could get you out. There is no way that you're going back in.
Morpheus did what he did because he believed that I'm something I'm not.
What?
I'm not the one, Trinity. The Oracle hit me with that too.
No, you have to be.
I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm just another guy.
No, Neo, that's not true. It can't be true.
Why? Neo, this is Loco. They've got Morpheus in a military-controlled building, even if you somehow got inside. Those are agents holding him. 3 of them. I want Morpheus back too, but what you're talking about is suicide. I know that's what it looks like, but it's not. I can't explain to you why it's not. Morpheus believed something, and he was ready to give his life for what he believed. I understand that now. That's why I have to go. Why? Because I believe in something.
What?
I believe I can bring him back. What are you doing?
Going with you.
No, you're not.
No? Let me tell you what I believe. I believe Morpheus means more to me than he does to you. I believe if you are really serious about saving him, you are going to need my help. And since I am the ranking officer on this ship, if you don't like it, I believe you can go to hell. Because you aren't going anywhere else. Tank, load us up.
So good. Makes me want to watch the movie right now. Don't know if all of you feel the same. So what are let me ask anybody who raised their hand if they want to share, or let me just pick on Gina. I don't know if you've ever seen The Matrix, but what did you get from actually watching that scene from that movie? Feel free to unmute yourself. Maybe Gina might not be available. Who else would like to share? Shania? What are you getting from that last video?
It kind of went over my head. That
That
was like my first time watching a clip from The Matrix. I've been meaning to watch it, but
you got to watch it. So
I know I should. Yeah, because he's an amazing actor. I know. Yeah.
So let me break it down for you, right?
Okay.
So within that movie, what ended up happening, Neo is supposed to be the one, the superhero that's supposed to save the day. And he's actually told, everybody believes that he's capable and is this person that's going to rescue everybody. But what ends up happening is that he meets an oracle, a very wise woman, who basically says, you're not the one. Okay, hi, Gina. I just saw your comment. Sorry that your mic's not working. It's okay. Feel free to put any comments in the chat. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that video. But what ended up happening is she told him, you're not the one. He's like, what? Everyone says that I'm it. You're not the one. He's like, nope, you're not it. And then she foretells of this exact situation. You have to choose whether Morpheus is going to die because he believes it, and you're going to have to choose what you're going to have to do about it. And so that was the pivotal moment, or a pivotal moment in the movie, where he has to decide what is he going to do. Everybody thinks that he's the one and things like that. And so it was a very big deal because he believed that he could actually make a difference, that he could actually save him. And so, that's the reason why I showed that video, is because, look at what Tank said. He's like, Neo, you're loco. Don't do this. This is suicide. How many times in your life are you going to actually have people who are going to tell you, you're loco? Don't do this. That's crazy. Doing that career, it's not safe. You won't make money. Like, everybody wants to tell you how you should live your life because they have maybe their own fears. about you doing what you want to do. Listen, I just think that I want to tell you just a personal story is I really believe, and we're going to talk about in terms of the next section about trusting your intuition, your gut, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. And I believe, and this is going to sound a little woo-woo, but there's a reason why I created Electus Society. I believe I'm a mission. I'm guided. This is something that is needed out. And while this is something that's very small, you guys are on the groundbreaking floor of Electus Society. It only was created last year, but I only anticipate it's going to rise, rise, and rise and get bigger and bigger and bigger because it's actually doing something constructive. I'm using my talents and abilities, and people, I just did it, right? And I could have all the different voices in my head telling you, oh, you shouldn't do this, you could be doing something else or whatever it may be. But here's what I wanted to share with you. I listen to that voice inside me that really guides me. And at one point, I was actually really unhappy in my relationship with my wife. And without getting into all the details, I didn't feel love, I didn't feel affection and things like that. And I started to look towards other people, like maybe I can really have a relationship with this woman. Maybe she will make me happy because I'm so miserable and happy with my wife. And I read a book that really, it was really serious, and that really happened, and I was really unhappy, and I read a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And it basically said I was living my life trying to make others happy. Like you guys, we had talked about in the high performance communication training. And what ended up saying in that book, it's like, you have to risk going after what you want. And I knew deep down inside, like, I want a happy life. I want to have a relationship where I feel love and connection, and I'm not having that. And I had been working with my wife doing counseling, relationship counseling, all this other kind of stuff. And then I finally meditated about it, and and guess what I was guided to do? I was guided to say, you know what? Break up with her, leave her. What was I going to risk? I have this home. I have to, it was passed down to me from my grandparents. I have to sell the house. I have to give her half my money. And I had these are all the fears that were going over through me. But I started to realize, you know what? I need to risk doing all this scary stuff if it means that I'm going to achieve my goal. I have to believe. And I actually would envision my future with this other girl or with this other woman. And I'm like, you know what? I could be happier. It was kind of vague, but it was still, it's like, no, it was possible. And so what ended up happening is I had a conversation with my wife, and I was very scared. I was very nervous, but I'm like, higher self, guide me on what to say and everything like that. And we had a very difficult conversation. I basically said, I think it's time for us to separate. And, she was crying. She was really upset and stuff like that. But I had made my decision. I was moving forward. And then she asked me, she's like, Tim, can you not date any other people while we figure this stuff out? I know that we're going to be living in the house. I think I'm going to move in with my mother or my sister. We have to figure this out. And I'm like, sure, I'll respect that. I'm not going to, bring any, strangers into the house and make this promise. But it was scary. And I had talked with my brother about it. Yeah. And then guess what happened? 3 days later, 3 days. And this was after a lot of heavy conversations that I'm not even taking time to tell you everything that we had talked about, right? My wife came up to me and apologized. She said, Tim, I realized that I have been an unloving wife. I was like, whoa, I did not expect that. And she's like, I really, you know what? I could leave. I could start off another relationship, but I don't want to be in a relationship with anybody else. I want to be in a relationship with you, because if I can't make it work here, how do I expect that I'm going to make it work out there? And she's like, will you come back to me? And I was like, I need a moment because again, I had all these visions that I was going to maybe end up with this person and that this was so real. And then I just kept asking my higher self to guide me. And it's like, no, get back with her. This is, and guess what? I can say with 100% that after that moment, my relationship with my wife transformed. She started being affectionate. I started receiving more love, and we have been happier at this moment in our lives. This happened like, I think in 2020. No, this happened in 2019. We've been happier now than ever before. And then our love just keeps growing. But guess what I had to do? I had to believe, I had to have a vision of myself that was that seemed loco, right? And I ended up doing it. So I hope that that's something that can help in that story that I'm sharing with you, that can inspire you all to really listen to that higher self, that gut, that instinct, that intuition that calls you to do something greater, even though it may seem loco. And guess what? Even though that's the path, it doesn't always necessarily mean, because maybe you needed to go down that path so that you could eventually go down this path, because I would not have ever expected I needed to do what I needed to do in order to have a happy relationship with my wife. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. What are, if any other comments, feel free to share. But I guess for the sake of time, I'll just keep going. But you guys can always raise your hand if you want to add other comments. But I'm going to jump into right now the last part of this, tea with Tim, right? We're getting real, right? This is what Tea with Tim is out. I'm spilling the tea. So let's go into the presentation. I'm going to share my screen right now. Give me 1 second. Where is it? Here we go. Let me share my screen. I lost it after here. Zoom, share screen. So I want to tell you that one of the most difficult things that anybody can ever deal with is dealing with addiction. And I've never really had a hard drug addiction. I think we all have addictions to different things in various degrees in our life. But somebody gave me the book Alcoholics Anonymous. And the reason why he gave me this book, it was an employee of mine. He says, Tim, because whenever I hear you talk and give advice, the things that you suggest really remind me of this book. And if you don't know about Alcoholics Anonymous, they created a 12-step program. And in that 12-step program, it was something that has been the most successful program that I know about that can change your life. So I wanted to know about it. So I read it, and here are the 12 rules or the 12 steps to actually overcome an addiction. And it's actually heartbreaking. When you read some of these stories, people are willing to destroy relationships, do terrible things, hurt people that they love so much, and they hate themselves for it, because the addiction is so powerful. So here's the first one. Admit that you are powerless. We admitted we are powerless over alcohol, or you can fill in any kind of addictive stuff. It's that our lives have become unmanageable. And then here is the second thing that the second and third thing that really blew me away. Believe in a greater power. It says step 2 is came to believe that a power that is greater than yourself could restore your sanity. Yeah, that's what you actually needed. You had to believe in a power greater than yourself. And then the step 3 was turn your will over to God. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Now, here's what was very interesting. I had never expected that 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous were going to get all spiritual on me, right? But without sharing you all my life story, I had grown up in very different religions. When I grew up, my parents changed religion, like every other week. And I really started to discover that, I went to school and I was really not into the church thing, not into the organized religion, just based on all my negative experiences about this. But what I really cared about was success and leadership. And so if we are going to be talking about overcoming addiction, people who need to be empowered, having issues and problems, well, I want us to know that success leaves clues. So if this 12 steps of overcoming addiction of Alcoholics Anonymous put this in there, there must be something to it. And so what was so interesting in reading this book was they started to explain how they did not, the original founders that created it in 1930, did not want to include this as part of the 12-step program. Why? Is because when you start talking about God, now we're talking about religion and politics, the two topics you're never supposed to talk about in any company. Well, guess what? They tried doing the program without this component and people would fail. They had to put it back in because it was the only way that they had seen that people overcame addiction. And listen, this was the 1930s. They didn't want to put it in there, but they did. And now it's 2020, and it's still one of the most successful programs to overcome addiction. Now, I'm going to take a little side tangent because here's what I wanted to share with you. The thing about it is they said each person can create their own conception of this greater power than themselves. Meaning, guess what? We can call it God, but guess what? You can define God whatever it is that you want, regardless of whether you're an atheist, whether you're agnostic, or you belong to some religion. You know, many people give names for this power. It doesn't have to be or use the word God, right? But here are some examples to include. It's your conscience. Have you ever, seen movies and stuff like that you have an option, and you always have two options? Your left shoulder is like the angel and the right shoulder is the devil, or vice versa, right? And the devil wants you to do this, but the angel's like, do this. Or in the movie Pinocchio, or that famous book where it's like he had a conscience, his conscience was telling him do the right thing. So maybe we have that inside of each one of us, and maybe we should listen to that more. What about your intuition, your gut? How many times have you been in a situation where your gut is saying, get away, move away from this person, stay away from that? And your fears is, oh, well, if I do that, people are going to not like me. They're going to say something. And you ignore your intuition, you ignore your gut. And guess what? Some negative consequences happen, right? Or the moments you did follow your intuition, you did follow your gut, and you followed that, and you're like, oh my goodness, I was just rescued or saved. So again, it could be called God, God, G-D, I am that I am. It's the I am presence. It could be Allah, the Father, the Christ, the Holy Spirit, higher self. Some people say God is love, and that, that's how you can describe it. It doesn't have to be some dude, in some white robe in heaven, like looking down on us. It could just be God is love, and that we have that everywhere around us. And then the other thing is, some people call it God is the spirit of the universe. Every living thing has something alive in it. It's the all power guiding force or creative intelligence. So again, I was at one point very nervous about even including this in Electus Society's leadership program, because again, listen, I know all of you maybe come from different religions, maybe atheists and stuff. Why is Tim Duffy talking about this topic? Well, listen, I want to actually educate you on what I've learned, and that there is something to this. And so if I have found that this works, and that people tap into something greater than themselves in order to do amazing things, well, then guess what? I have a job and an obligation to teach you this. And this is why it's better for me in Electus Society, because I don't have to be succumbed to being cancel cultured, or some institution says, Tim, you're not allowed to talk about these topics because they're too controversial. I'm just going to tell them. And whether you agree, disagree, you do your own thing, because I respect each of you as individuals to make your own choices. So, again, back to the steps: turn your will over to God, do an inventory of yourself, and then admit your wrongs to God and other people, right? What did you do wrong? Then ask to have those defects removed, remove any shortcomings, be humble, and then make a list of all the people that you've harmed, and be willing to make amends to all of them. And so then step 9 is what we most see in film and television, where they're like, I'm doing the step program. You start going and start speaking to all the people that you've wronged, and you ask for forgiveness, right? But you don't do it if it would cause injury to other people. Then you continuously work on yourself, right? Keep talking, keep analyzing yourself. And if you mess up, admit it and improve, right? The next thing it says, pray and meditate. right? We're going to be talking about this in one of the other trainings, meditation, mindfulness. This is the most important thing that you could start off your morning doing, is because, you can tap in, have that connection, whether it's your higher self, your intuition, your conscious. Again, you can call it whatever you want, but it's very, very powerful. And then just apply these principles to your life, right? Now that you've done this, share it with other people, help other people. And those are the 12 steps. So I'll stop the screen right now. Who here wants to share? Shania, thanks so much for sending a heart out. I love your even comment, preach. But what are you getting from everything that we're sharing, Go ahead, Shania. You can unmute yourself.
For me, yeah, you was preaching. You was really preaching.
I'm not a pastor.
But I do agree with the higher power. Like as you was going through the steps, I feel like too that it could be more than just for people who's dealing with alcoholism, because me too, I personally, like, I'm at a point too, I'm trying to get closer to God. Like I'm trying to pray more. I'm trying to learn how to meditate. I don't really know how to get there. I'm trying to get more in tune with myself, because I really do believe that once I get in tune with myself in that way, things will feel not so stressful, because it's like I'm in tune. It's like I know like what's going on and stuff. So yeah, definitely I think it applies to everything. I think it should apply to life. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a God. It's something that you believe like more than yourself. Greater than you.
How can you overcome these challenges that you have to believe in some power that's greater than yourself, that you could that give you the courage to overcome your limitations? So so
definitely.
Thanks so much, Ryan. What about you? Any thoughts based on what I'm sharing so far?
Yes, I really liked the personal story that you shared, especially about the issues you went through in your marriage 3 years ago that have been resolved. And I think that was very inspiring, that you have to follow your natural instinct sometimes without even thinking. Like your body knows what the right answer is. And I think that's what you realized when you just talked about your issues from 3 years ago. And it's a good lesson for all of us to remember.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Ryan. I appreciate you sharing that, and thanks for that acknowledgement. So now let's go to the final part of this discussion. So we've gone over the 12 steps. The next training that we're going to be doing next Thursday is called Secrets to Getting Active and Engaged Members Virtually and in Person. So now we're going to go back to the more detailed training versus just videos and discussions. And this is going to really help you with respect to leadership. Now, some of you may be club leaders or student government leaders or whatever it is, but some of you may be graduating, or you're like, I'm not going to be involved anymore. Well, use these ideas and concepts to help you in your professional career and your jobs. How can you help motivate and engage your employees, your team members, your coworkers? So using these same principles, you can apply it to a lot of different fields. So again, if anybody who's watching this recording, at this point, you should have watched the orientation video, completed the pre-assessment of the program. Again, in the acceptance email, you should have received a bonus training, Professional Success 101, how to get a raise or get promoted. Again, it's packed with a lot of information. Schedule a one-on-one with me. Again, I'd like to get to know you more, answer any questions about Electus Society, and talk about your career and anything that I can do to help you achieve what you want to achieve. Then if you haven't done so, I also sent out an email to say, join the Telegram chat. So we've had a couple of people join. And so this is a way for us to continue with the networking and for sharing. So, ideas of things that you could put on that chat is any videos, motivational videos that you're watching, have any discussions. We could talk about, what are you getting out of these trainings, something that's going on in your life, anything like that that's positive in terms of what we're trying to do here, help increase your power, increase your influence so that we can serve others. And so, as we continue going on, more people will be joining that Telegram chat, And so I love for people to share, because it doesn't have to be all one way stemming from me, because I have to tell you, I've learned so much from people sharing. Oh, Tim, you should check out this book. It reminded me of what you were saying, or you should watch this movie, or here's another motivational video that you should really see. And you guys contribute to me as well. And I really love it. So at this point, I'll take any questions that you might have. In order for you to get credit for this training session, there is going to be an assessment. I'm going to post it right now in the chat. Give me 1 second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm going to copy and paste this link. And this is what you need to complete. And again, it's going to just ask you some questions on what do you think of today's training session, based on all the videos. What did you learn? What action steps are you going to take? What do you think is your skills, etc. And who are the people or things you like to help, so you can start discovering what your purpose is. So again, the link is in the chat. I just posted everybody. So before we sign off, we have about 5 more minutes. Does anybody have any questions for me that I can answer? I would love to answer them for you.
I don't have a question, but I tried to get onto the Telegram chat, but I couldn't get a code because I don't know why. Something with my phone number. Well, my phone number is real because, obviously, but I guess, they don't think it's real, whatever. So I sent an email and I'm waiting to hear back. And,
okay,
yeah.
so you have some technical issues with it. Yeah, you've downloaded the app and you tried to click on that link through your phone and it's not working, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope that you can resolve it, and don't worry, I will still keep everybody included via email on any important videos. Again,
Okay.
it's just that Telegram is used as a tool for you to connect with each other. That's all. It's part of that networking and that sharing and contribute. And I love when people share. And remember, sometimes people think it's like, well, no one's posted anything, I don't want to post anything. Well, it all starts with you leading by example, by you posting stuff, right? So this weekend, I'm actually going to share some clips on there on that chat. I had mentioned I've been loving some Tony Robbins. And so I like to listen to a lot of podcasts on YouTube. I'm not watching them, but I'll listen to them. And he came out with a new book called Life Force. And it's all about increasing your lifespan and longevity. And his interviews are so motivational. So I'm actually going to post that in there so that people can share. And I'd love to hear people's thoughts on it. So that's what it can be used for. So Shania, I can't wait for you to join that chat and contribute.
Me too. Okay? Yes.
Any other questions or comments before we sign off?
I don't have a question either, but I just want to say thank you for today. This was my first session during lifetime, so thank you for just all the really great, I guess, nuggets of information and advice.
No.
I really enjoyed it, and it was great to hear the other students' perspectives too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that, Brenda. I really appreciate it. It takes a lot of time and effort to put this all together. And I appreciate all of you. Anybody else could have been doing something on a Thursday and you're like, you know what, let's listen to this Tim Duffy guy. Let's see what else he has to say. But, I love the tease with Tim is because I really want to hear more from you guys, because again, the trainings, I don't get to do that as much just because there's so much content that I want to give you. But again, my hope is that out of these trainings and these sessions that you're gaining stuff that you don't typically hear, in your typical leadership program in college or your leadership classes. I want to give you the real world stuff, real application. And I've been doing this for almost 2 decades. And so I've had a lot of bumps and bruises, and I want you to learn from me so that you guys can go out and make a positive difference. So thank you all for being here, for watching, and for all those people who will be watching this recording. I hope you got a lot out of it. And please take the time right now, click on that Google form in that chat so that you can get credit for attending this session. Thank you guys so much. Have a great night, and I'll see you next Thursday. All right. Bye-bye.